Good morning. Good morning. I'm here as a candidate for governor of Florida, but I'm also here to bring awareness to why citizens need a more active role in securing or trying to secure accountability for our legislative, judicial, and executive branches at our state level as well as our federal level. The bottom line is this: I could have been born before even having the opportunity to say that I'm a candidate for governor of Florida. There have been people who have died to give me the right to say I'm a candidate for governor of Florida. There have been people who have died for women to say that, hey, I deserve a right to vote and to try to navigate things in a proper fashion. And we are watching today that fashion, all of that work, all of the sacrifices, we are watching that diminish with the negativity that's happening under our current representative democracy. So the idea is to push for citizens to hold all of these branches more accountable to citizen-led control, citizen-led accountability. Right now, I've told you that the only way that a citizen can do anything by way of legislation is through your representative. I had an individual just tell me that no, citizens are the problem because we put President Trump in office. You can go to the nationalarchives.gov. .govs means that the government sponsors this website and says, this is how we function. The Electoral College put the president in that seat. There is no popular vote at the federal level that puts a president in a seat. The Electoral College, the individuals for the Electoral College have the right to vote independently of all citizens. And that is very important. Our elected representatives have the right to vote independently of all citizens, no matter whether you back them or not. That is where it stops. Once you vote in your representative, your hands are off. So what do we say? We say, well, let's turn to the judicial system. Okay, so I went and looked this up. Who holds the judicial system accountable? My findings: the judiciary branch answers virtually to no one in practice. While the Constitution establishes theoretical checks and balances, the practical reality is that the federal judges, especially Supreme Court justices, operate with minimal accountability to any democratic institution or the citizens they govern. We have a problem where citizens cannot hold anybody in this structure accountable. Let me bring you guys some examples. In 2023, Justice Samuel Alito said no provisions in the Constitution gives them the authority to regulate the Supreme Court, period. Chief Justice John Roberts, 2011, the court has never addressed whether Congress has the authority to establish financial disclosures and gift limitations on the Supreme Court. 2023, Chief Justice Roberts refuses an invitation to testify at a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Supreme Court ethics. Do you understand our issue? I mean, you really have to understand just how difficult it is to hold individuals, this is elected officials, accountable when the rules don't establish accountability. We are asking individuals who have no rules to follow a moral code that's not written down. So they're saying we're not breaking the law. And we have to figure out what we are going to do with our moment in time. Citizens, this is our moment in time to look, assess, and decide. We need to assess and decide if going forward, the little bit of time you have on this earth, how are you going to use it? I have already come to terms that even giving citizens legislative authority, I may not in my lifetime see the fruits of this labor. See the fruits that come from citizens saying, no, this isn't best for us as a collective to allow any entity the right to not to govern itself. Because when you allow this to happen, when you allow an entity of any sort to hold itself accountable, you cannot be sure that it's going to always do the right thing. You have to understand this. Congress has, or at least believes they have, oversight authority, but judges increasingly claim immunity on more and more avenues. When you can claim immunity, it simply means that no matter whether you do good or bad, you cannot be held accountable. And I have said this over and over. There is no position that we should have that governs a body of people that should not be held accountable. This is the argument. I saw a young lady and she was breaking down because she was watching this child in Gaza eat sand because they are starving. The reality is not a single citizen can vote on legislation to say, hey, stop this from happening. Not one. You just do not have the legislative authority. So it's swelling up in people to say, I have to watch hardship because the internet lets me see more hardship now. I have to see this happen. We've experienced this in America when that picture of that slave guy had his back all beat up and they posted it in the paper. People were like, whoa, this is not okay. I do not remember the name of the slave that they captured that image. But until that was a huge moment where people said, whoa, absolutely not. This is not okay. And there were a lot of people that said, no, we are now subject to so many atrocities that we can see in real time. And we have citizens that are empathizing and that would find a way. Hey, can we pass a budget that not only works for us, but can we give something to help out these other areas? What is wrong with that? You have to consider in Florida alone, that citizens paid are paying $450 million for the Alcatraz Institute that you will never be a part of, but you're willing to pay for that, but not pay for children to have free meals at school. That you're willing to put your money towards this, but not this. There is going to always be, until we start to work our way through these things, an argument on if my money should go towards helping American citizens, or the narrative is always spent that our money is going towards helping all of these other people while you're struggling. So immediately you say, absolutely not. My money should go towards helping me, and it's not going there either. Because you don't read enough legislation to see that it's just spinning a narrative. I just did a video telling you that in 2012, we were now allowing domesticated propaganda. It's creating an environment where Your tax dollars not only don't go to you, they also don't go to help anyone else. So where is your tax dollars going? If it's not going to educate you, who's getting it? How is it possible that, because you know what? I was going to say, how is it possible that you don't recognize it? But the reality is, it is very simplistic to placate on those who are in need. I do not blame individuals for believing a lie. If you are struggling and someone is coming to you saying everything that you need to hear, I am going to get you out of poverty. I'm going to help you. I'm going to put more money in your pocket. Why would none of that sound like it's harming you? So of course you want the things that aren't harming you. The problem is when the legislation gets passed, it's still leaving you in the same position. It's just worded in a way that not only do you not even see, because you don't go to these .gov sites to look up legislation, you're not being told directly. And now you have senators, you have congressmen at the state level, in the federal level, backtracking bills that are already written. So now the propaganda I'm putting out that this was a terrible thing while I signed for a terrible thing. Our minds are having to process lies and figure out what we're supposed to do. We've been asking for transparency, but like I told you, citizens can't get anyone to do the right thing. So one of the sole focuses, matter of fact, the sole focus of my entire campaign is to get citizens authority, legislative authority. We have got to make the first and second steps to put citizens in a place where we can be the ultimate level. Citizens can be the ultimate level of accountability. 9 Supreme Court justices make blind decisions for 330 million Americans. No citizen input after initial appointment or confirmation. No recall mechanisms or regular democratic review. A lifetime tenure removes any electoral accountability. The U.S. system provides less democratic accountability than most developed democracies. Other systems, other areas, in order to make sure that this thing doesn't get too far out of control when it does. Other systems include term limits, mandatory retirement, or citizen participation. American emphasis on independence has eliminated accountability. Public trust in Supreme Courts is at an historic low. Judges make policy decisions traditionally reserved for elected office officials. No recourse for citizens when courts override democratic will. Do you understand that it doesn't matter because we were not and are not in the rules? And right now, I am asking you to give me your support because we have to decide to be in the rules. This is our moment in time to decide who we are going to be and how our futures are going to be. And you have got to accept the accountability that you may not see the fruits of your labor, but that your labor is not in vain. Because again, me and women would not be as far as we are if people thought that the labor and the sacrifices were in vain. And they're not. And I need that to be important. That putting citizens in a place where we now have more control over our elected officials is where we are today. And we need to be responsible with it. We need to be responsible for it. And we need to be held accountable to our decisions. It is not your fault that your government passed a law that said it was okay to deceive you. But this is where we are, and we will continue to argue the deception, because my message won't reach everybody. You can pass it on, but it's not going to get to every ear. You're going to argue it. But you cannot argue with that piece of legislation that said in 2012 that it was now okay to put domestic propaganda on our own citizens. You cannot argue that because it is a passed piece of legislation. I'm asking you as a citizen to support giving yourself a seat at the table, the ultimate seat, and to take responsibility for understanding that you will not, and there's a strong chance that the fruits of your labor, that these sacrifices that you're gonna have to make, the pay cuts, because when this comes out, when I get in the governor's seat and I put all this transparency out there and I start giving you this understanding, every decision we make is, some decisions are gonna take away from what we're already like, but we don't have much to give, because we have to pull back the curtain and see the damage that's done. We have to remove the rubble, find a strong foundation to grab onto, and start to rebuild. And this is where we are. And there are probably going to be areas that are more attacked than others that we just didn't catch. So thank you for your time. And please replay it if you need to. Give yourselves the opportunity to sit back and decide for yourself, hey, do I have, or have I been given the right to push this thing in a better direction? And I need to steel myself in understanding that the fruits of my labor, history will talk about. Thank you for your time. You all have a great day, and I am always available for any questions or comments. Have a great day.